And in Austria, it's actually standard of care. In Austria, they don't do steroid injections or NSAIDs. They will always shock before surgery because steroid injections and NSAIDs, like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, don't prepare tissue for trauma. They actually make it worse. So yeah, my name is Derek Parker. I'm from Columbia, Missouri. That's where I live now, but I'm originally from Houston, Texas.
You have a little twang.
Yeah. So I grew up there, played football, I swam, I did track, I ran, I threw shot put and discus, and then ended up going to the University of Missouri. That's why I'm in Columbia now. Okay. And I threw discus and then started just throwing hammers. And while I was there, I tore my rotator cuff. I did it on a heavy snatch. It popped and felt like Velcro. And then I looked for alternative treatments, 2 years until I found SoftWave. Okay. It's a shockwave device. I can explain that later. Yeah, basically. I went through like 6 to 8 treatments once a week. And in 12 weeks, I had no pain, full range of motion. I was told I needed surgery, and I was good to go. I never had a needle, no pills, never took any pills, and I was good to go. And so I actually started working at a SoftWave clinic. Before that, actually, while I was an athlete at Mizzou, during that 2-year period between tearing my rotator cuff and finding SoftWave, I got introduced to Chad Coy in Columbia. My strength coach at Mizzou said, hey, if you want to like grow in strength training, you should learn from the best, and especially in town, and that's Chad. And so I kind of just went and became a Parisi coach. I got certified. John Cirillo did my certification, actually. And so, yeah, I did the whole shebang, was a Parisi coach, and then I started working at SoftWave while I was a Parisi coach. And so I got to learn about rehab and performance. And then I got the opportunity of going to PT school. I now own my own device and my own business where we do SoftWave and strength training at the same place.
And you're a physical therapist?
I'm in PT school.
You're in PT school?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the name of your company?
It's called Molo Therapy.
Oh, what is Molo?
So
it's the name. Yeah. Give us the backstory.
So it's an acronym.
Okay.
Molo is movement you love. Movement you love is therapy.
Okay.
So that could be jiu-jitsu, rock climbing, CrossFit, pickleball. For a lot of people, it might be capacity.
Sure.
I want to be able to lift something if someone asks me to. I want to be able to get on the ground. My kid jumps on my back and I don't get crippled for 6 weeks. And so the whole point of our treatments that we do, we call it the Molo method, where we treat, train, and teach. So we'll treat you with SoftWave, train you fascia, and teach you how to prevent future injuries, so I never have to see you again.
Yeah.
And so, but the whole goal with SoftWave is we regenerate the tissue and then train it to get you back to movement you love, because it's free therapy.
That's a phenomenal backstory, phenomenal origin story, maybe the best of anyone in the pod so far. That's all. I feel like everyone, like, you've left out this, but I didn't, obviously Chad comes up in the hallway, he's like, you guys should do this, and we should do this, and I'm like, I don't really know, we'll figure it out, we'll get there, but there's no notes on these. I always tell people, like, and on the phone, you see, like, there's people who have a notepad, there's people with no notepad. The conversation should still be awesome either way. So explain shockwave or SoftWave, right? And shockwave. So it's called SoftWave and shockwave therapy.
So SoftWave is a type of shockwave.
Okay.
I can't really explain what shockwave is.
Yeah, I want you to explain to me like I'm 7.
So a shockwave is an increase in pressure and then an immediate decrease in pressure. It looks a lot different than ultrasound. Okay. Ultrasound is oscillating waves, whereas shockwaves is like a steep decrease and then a massive increase, and then it kind of fades out.
So it looks like an ECG.
It really does kind of like that. And so, but it goes like, ours goes like 12 centimeters deep into your body. And so you might look at like a can of green beans into your body. So shockwaves were actually discovered in 1950 in like Germany around that time, around World War II era. They were looking at sailors who had cracked lungs, but they had their tissue wasn't damaged. And they believed it was from the shockwaves from the ocean bombs.
Okay.
Tearing their lungs apart.
Okay.
But their skin was fine, and they couldn't figure out why. And so they actually reverse engineered to figure out how to make shockwaves in medicine around 1950. And that's how they created a lithotripsy device that dissolves kidney stones. So you might see that at the hospital, if someone has really big kidney stones, they'll sit in a bath of water with this huge machine, and it'll dissolve them, break them up so they can pee it out. Then around like 1980s, 70s, they started working on like calcifications on the shoulder, like some elbow pain, Achilles tendonitis pain, and they just lowered the energy level. And so shockwave world still has disintegration, but they tried to move it to regeneration. And so, and they followed fascia. That's their mechanism that they were explaining it, mechanotransduction. when they start talking about fascia. Like the way that you explain SoftWave has to be with mechanotransduction. But all that to say, they started trying to regenerate soft tissue. So they would use it in orthopedic injuries, urological disorders like erectile dysfunction, pelvic floor pain, and non-healing wounds. So like diabetic ulcers.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do now. But then from that emerged 3 types of shockwaves. And people say there's a 4th one, but there's really 3. And you can look at the ISMST, International Society of Medical Shockwave Treatments. There's electrohydraulic, which is what SoftWave is, piezoelectric, and electromagnetic. So electrohydraulic involves water and electricity, spark. Electromagnetic is electricity and a magnet. And piezoelectric is crystals, so much pressure. And they all create that same chart of a shock wave. But it's just a matter of how deep it goes, how wide it goes, and how your body responds. So they
like an electrical. You say shock wave, I think electrical.
Yeah, so think shock wave is electricity and sound. So no electricity is touching you, it's only sound waves. Okay. And they usually come out at like 3,000 miles an hour every nanosecond.
What does it feel like? You've done it, you've done it and you do it, which I love. Like I like that. Yeah. The people that have done it, experienced it, teach it, like it's like you kind of get it from all angles.
100%.
So what does it feel like when you're going through a treatment?
They all feel different. If you do an electrohydraulic, electromagnetic, or piezo. If you do, say, an electromagnetic and it's high intensity, a focused shock wave, it might make you want to pass out. Sometimes they'll numb it, they'll put a numbing agent on it. But I'm pretty sure like there was a hockey team that like cried a little bit.
Yeah.
Those. So sometimes they'll even put people to sleep. For piezo, you don't feel anything. You're like, well, it's kind of there. Feels like laser.
Okay.
For electrohydraulic, what's really unique, and what SoftWave is a type of, I think it's gold standard now, but it only hurts if it's damaged tissue. So if you have like a sore muscle and you think you tore something, I'll put it on it and we'll shock, and it's like, oh, I don't feel any pain. It's like, oh, then there's probably no arthritis, probably no tendonitis, nerve degeneration, muscle strain, and muscle tear.
So it can rule out.
Yeah.
And that's
it's
how you
use it more diagnostic. Yep. So at an eval, people will come in, we'll do a movement assessment. Like for shoulders, we'll test pain points.
Sure.
And watch them move, watch their thoracic rotation, extension, how they breathe and how their rib cage expands, and then we'll shock all the referral areas. So we always say this might be your pain, but it doesn't mean it's your problem. And so we want to work upstream and downstream of where you're feeling those pains. And we'll try to hit like trigger points, Travell and Simmons trigger points, but it's really like we'll work in the upper back a lot. Sometimes we'll shock like right here in the neck, and it'll release pain over here or pain right here.
Okay.
And people are like, what the heck is going on? But it's pretty diagnosed.
So it's like an integrated tool to a larger methodology and practice.
Correct.
So overall, and this is kind of so funny how you start the conversation. It's like it ventures out into different points.
Yeah.
So like you have the strength conditioning background, you have the athlete background. What is your treatment philosophy as now like a DPT student? Like you clearly are thinking about, I'm sure you have a treatment philosophy. What is that? What does it start to look like for you?
Yeah, so I started doing, have you ever heard of the RAMP protocol for warm-ups? So
no.
So the RAMP, in my CFCS studies for certified strength and conditioning specialist, I learned about RAMP style warm-up, which is similar to active dynamic warm-up that Parisi does, but it's, raise your heart rate, activate specific tissues you're going to use, mobilize the joints, and then potentiate them, start adding load.
Okay.
And
Michelle has a very similar acronyms. Yeah.
So I created DAMP.
Okay.
Desensitize the tissue, activate the tissues, mobilize the tissues, potentiate the tissues. So we will always I'll shock the tissues, and then the first phase is always let's desensitize, because I don't want you to work through any range of motion through pain. And so I love soft tissue mobilization tools like a gumdrop, I love a lacrosse ball, foot rollers, whatever it might be, but we'll do, for a lot of cases, like contract relax sequences.
Yeah.
So like I might, if you say like shoulder's killing me, we'll put it back here, I'll say press and guess for a bit, find the most painful spot. And when you put some weight on it, you should be able to take a big breath. If you hold your breath, it's too intense, maybe we'll put a towel over it, put a hoodie on, I don't care. We'll put on it, and then I'm going to inhale for 4 seconds, contract my muscle against it for 4 seconds, then exhale and melt around it for 8. And we do that for 2 minutes. We're going to find 5 spots that are referral to it, desensitize it. Usually it takes like 5-10 minutes.
So take out protective tension.
Yes. So we'll try to desensitize everything. Usually people are feeling a lot looser after. We'll do banded distractions as well.
You cured me, doc.
That's right. Yeah.
You cured me. Like I got you to breathe.
That's really important too. So right after we shock people, usually first response is, wow, it feels really loose.
Yeah.
Like if someone came in, I just did this the other day actually. I was playing around a monkey bar kind of in our office, and I twisted too soon, and I didn't really do a warm up, and I felt like just something pull on my shoulder. And I couldn't raise it. I couldn't lift it. Like,
Are you in your 30s?
No, I'm 23.
You should no. Whoa.
Yeah.
You're too young for that.
Well,
that's down to the 23.
I was doing single arm twist.
Dude, that's a 33-year-old. That's
It is.
I slept weird. That's gonna go away, guys. I slept weird. No, you're too young for that.
But yeah, I couldn't lift my arm, and right after I shocked it,
Yeah.
I was good to go again. So it decreases inflammation immediately. I'll talk about the mechanism later, but I always tell people just because you don't feel pain doesn't mean there's no damaged tissue, you know? And so like, don't play like you still do. So when we do our desensitization techniques, people stand up and, well, I feel good. Like I'm ready to express full range of motion, put as much weight on as possible. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so we'll slowly just build it up. Usually we're shocking for about 8 weeks, usually once a week. And we create programs for people, like an 8 to 12 week program. And they'll do that while we're working with them. Then they practice activating tissues, maybe on the floor. It's like the lock 3, if you've ever heard of that. But just working on depressing the shoulder blade and then activating your external rotators, lifting it up in different positions, field goal positions, and just practicing just mind-muscle connection.
Sure.
That's kind of a lot of what I focus on for people. Yeah. I would say, like, I know Greg Cook says if you can't breathe in a position, you don't own it. And I kind of started saying, like, if you can't contract a muscle, you don't own it.
Yeah, if you can't find the muscle.
You can't. Yeah, it's like,
I can't find it. It makes sense, too. If you had trauma to the area, your body's going to go, no, thank you, sir. I'll pass on that.
Which, that stress relaxation that they're talking about in there. So, like, if I wish I had a napkin, but, like, if you tore it in the middle and then you pull it and in parallel with the fibers, that's not going to tear anymore. And it's the same way that your tissue works. It absorbs all the force to protect that tear. But if you hold it for like 30 seconds, then you actually put load in the tear. And since your tissue remodels along lines of load, impact, pressure, and stress, you can actually put the stress in the torn tissue without stretching it or shortening it. And so then it can remodel. And so that's kind of what we'll do.
I have a maybe a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I'm totally comfortable being completely stupid.
Yeah.
So do you see people who, like, say I had an ACL surgery 12 years ago.
Yep.
It was an older surgery. It was probably not done the best or never really healed right. Healed right. Do you get a lot of people who need to, like, it's an old, like, I had my cuff, but you probably retore it. It's kind of gross. Instead of like a fresh post-op, are you seeing a lot of, like, I guess, how does SoftWave, how does shock therapy work versus to something new, a fresh tear versus something that's like, I'm 12 years old.
No.
I've got every type of scar tissue, soft tissue, calcification, arthritis built in this area. Like, how does that method, all this, how does this work around that?
It'll work for both.
Yeah.
But more of it's like a pain tolerance usually.
Sure.
People that have had older injuries, sometimes, unless they have chronic pain, but most of the time are like, I just have limited range of motion and I'm really stiff. Like, it'll hurt if you have scar tissue.
Yeah.
For people that's an acute injury, you'll still feel a little tender for probably 3-4 weeks before you start going like, wow, it's feeling.
And if it hurts, it's not a bad thing.
Correct.
It's just a pain response to treatment.
Pain is your body's request for change.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing. I think that's important to just bring up because sometimes people are like, well, yeah, no, it's going to be more painful. I don't want to do it. Well, you're remodeling tissue. Yeah. Like, that's my biggest takeaway from this weekend of fascia is tissue remodel, tissue reshaping.
Yeah.
That's sounds like this is what we're doing.
So when I explain SoftWave, I explain it the same way that you would do strength training. So the way SoftWave works is it creates cell membrane permeability.
Yeah.
So the shock wave is hitting your cell membrane, the wall kind of expands and then shrinks a little bit, and it kind of squeezes waste out, opens it up, sucks nutrients in. And mechanotransduction just means your body is able to turn mechanical forces into biochemical signals, right? You're a plant. You're not just breaking down and you wear out. It's like you can transfer that. Now, if you add too much load, you tear. If you add not enough, you atrophy. But if you add just enough, you grow. So the biomechanical signals that get released from our bodies when SoftWave hits your cell membrane basically simulates an injury. It tricks your brain into thinking we're damaging it. And so then your body tries to protect it. So a lot of those growth factors get released, like VEGF, that start creating new blood vessels. So angiogenesis, it starts creating new blood vessels off of existing ones in the area. And then neovascularization, it just starts creating new blood vessels. Most of the research on shock waves is in blood vessel formation. And SoftWave specifically increases it by 300%. So that's why it's so effective for ED, blood flow issue, erectile dysfunction. Other things that it helps, though, like we always say, blood flow, it recruits stem cells. So it's like a non-invasive stem cell treatment. It just decreases inflammation. And in Austria, it's actually standard of care. In Austria, they don't do steroid injections or NSAIDs. They will always shock before surgery because steroid injections and NSAIDs, like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, don't prepare tissue for trauma. They actually make it worse, like we learned in there. And SoftWave prepares them for it. And so orthopedic surgeons can get sued in Austria if they don't use shockwave before surgery. One, it prepares it. Two, it took away a lot of surgeries for them that they didn't need.
So it's not new. This is not new technology, but a lot of people...
New to America.
Yeah, a lot of people probably are like, this is this new innovative thing. It's not.
SoftWave started in 2004 in Germany.
And you came across it, repeat that for me one more time.
In like 2020.
Because a practitioner just happened to be doing it.
Yeah. So
happened to live near there.
He lived in the town.
It's wild.
I was actually shadowing the guy.
Yeah.
And was interested in chiropractic at the time. And he was like, hey, I like you. You have any spots that hurt? He's like, I just bought this device. I want to try it out.
Yeah.
And so he shocked my shoulder. That was the first night in 2 years I slept without pain.
Yeah.
Back to the guy. I said, hey, I love this. I'd love to work for you. And he's like, how about you just run the business for me?
I'm always kind of enamored by this kind of instance, right? Where it's like it's not new. Yeah. It might be new to us, but it's not new. But why do you think it's probably growing in popularity, but why now? Why hasn't it? Why not 20 years ago when you clearly knew how to do it?
Yeah.
Like, why is it now growing in popularity, do you think?
I know like a lot of NBA teams started bringing it professional. It got FDA cleared in 2020. It's not FDA approved. And so I think it's more an insurance battle war.
Can you explain the difference between that? Like FDA,
so like
first cleared?
So not that well, but I know FDA clearance wise, like it's FDA, basically they need more research. They want more meta-analyses showing proof and evidence, which means SoftWave, the company, the manufacturer would probably need to spend another 100 million something on studies. So it's more of a money thing.
So it's safe to be used on the human body. They just don't necessarily recommend it as an organization.
Yeah. FDA approved basically is the stamp of maybe insurance will cover this.
Okay.
And so, because insurance wants to figure out how to make money off most things.
There's no rebates on them.
And with one of the things of SoftWave, I know this is it works.
Yeah.
And I should never have to see you again. I always say strength training makes SoftWave stick.
Yeah.
I know.
Sure.
So after I shock you, like I shouldn't have to see you again. And I know some things that a couple insurance people I've talked to at least is like, that's not really a good model for us.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? There's no money. If you stop going, there's no money in that. But and doctors, surgeons get paid to cut. So it makes sense. Like in Austria, like it removes surgeries. That's not an advantageous business model.
That's right.
To prevent what people do.
100%.
But in the PT world, where your job is to make people get better, in the strength conditioning world, where you want people to have healthy habits, healthy lifestyles, healthy bodies, like that makes sense. So I like to clarify that for people listening, watching, because if we talked about this with the Jocko guys earlier today, supplements, like I was like, the FDA doesn't regulate the supplement company, but it's heavily scrutinized and monitored by the FDA, right? So it's almost like approved adjacent, but if I approve for the FDA, then someone could write a prescription for protein to help cure whatever, osteoporosis or whatever. So they don't want that. But and it turns into this. We're not going down like the political monetary that rabbit hole. We're going to avoid that.
Sure.
But it is. I just think important to clarify to people like, hey, no, this is safe. It's totally applicable. This isn't like we're not lighting essential oils and like hoping that your pain goes away. Like it's a real. There's tech behind it.
It's not just placebo.
Yeah, that's a great word. That was the way to say it.
It's not like Eastern medicine. Sue Falstone said this is like the thousands of years of consensus observation, where they're like, we pricked so many people, we kind of found something that works, and Western medicine tried to reverse engineer that. But when Western medicine hits its end, maybe it's helpful to look at Eastern medicine And I wouldn't say SoftWave is Eastern medicine. Like it's a freaking shockwave.
No, it's
Sound waves,
super tech.
super tech.
Yeah, if anything, it seems like you tell me it was from the 50s, and they're looking at it, like it seems like it's like, yeah, no, this is 2050, and it's like the thing of the future. We just happen to be doing it now, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's back from the future.
Yeah.
Second Back to the Future reference we've made this weekend, and but it does seem like it is somewhat. I'm guessing it's not a cheap device to buy.
No, so like you might, if someone were to buy a device, it might be anywhere from 60 to 100K.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
it's cool. You have one.
it's worth the investment.
It's wild. That's just insane to conceptualize. But because but I mean, what's the replacement life? They're like, what's the warranty on this? Like that. But
I can basically they have applicator heads.
Yeah.
That you plug in that looks like ultrasound.
Yeah. I've seen a device.
Yeah. It's so you basically, those are what you refurbish. There's an electrode in there that it wears down, and you can get different units. That's why the price range is different. Sure. That basically hold different amounts of charges. And so like you might buy one that has 150,000 pulses, 350,000 or 1 million, and the refurbishments on them are cheaper. You just don't have to do them as much. So you buy more up front to spend less in the long life. Yeah.
So this is probably the best place to wrap, but I'm in Northern Vermont, you're in Colombia. Like, it's not going to work. How do I find a practitioner of SoftWave? How do I find a practitioner of shock? Like, do I just Google it? Like,
Nope.
Is it that easy?
So if you go on SoftWave TRT, Tissue Regenerative Technologies website, they have a SoftWave provider portal.
Okay.
And you should be able to type in your zip code and look through them. One thing we're trying to do with Molo Therapy is kind of branch out to all SoftWave providers and just patients in general. I have people call me from all over the nation like, hey, I loved your website the most. You explained it. Which one should I go to near me?
Yeah.
And because it might be a chiro, a podiatrist, a physio.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do I know? Like, people kind of do it differently.
Some makes sense. If I have a shoulder issue and a podiatrist has it, like, I don't think that on the surface, that's not going to work for me.
And some providers might say, hey, like, we're only going to do 4 treatments. And then we're going to wait 8 weeks, and then we're going to do 13 more. Some people might say, hey, we're only going to do 6 to 8, like me, and I'll never see you again. Some people might say, hey, we're going to do 12, and then we're going to do every month after that. And so and some people, like, they walk in, they shock, they leave. Some people, they shock and they add other modalities, and then you leave. And so it's more helpful to understand, probably like if you go on our website, molotherapy.com, click the Learn tab, learn about SoftWave, walk into any provider and say, I know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
Do you think there should be a standardized care treatment, or is it individual to the person, but the device should have a standardized, like, almost like a choose your own, you start here and you go here?
So it's kind of one of those things where, like in hypertrophy training, we know how to obtain results, but the mechanism's hard to explain.
Gotcha.
With SoftWave, we know how to explain, or like we're seeing outcomes, and we point to mechanotransduction because we understand that's how the body works, but it's hard to explain like the mechanism because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm kind of am okay with somewhat of a variety of protocols, but I think like if you look at the training that we go through is they're pretty confident with 6 to 8 treatments, and so that's what I stick with.
Yeah.
And that's like even for hypertrophy, it's like 8 to 12 weeks for your myofibrils to grow in size. Yeah. It makes sense for your soft tissue to regenerate in that time, and we've seen really good success with that, so that's why I stick with.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've experienced
partially anecdotal, partially like provider recommended, but I just think of like, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but you see like an ACL return to sport protocol being a very linear model, and it's not. So it doesn't necessarily need to be, but I always wonder when it is I'll say like device-oriented treatment, it can only be done with this if there's just like a standardized practice of care to get started.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like there might be.
So that's where I start. For neuropathy patients, sometimes we'll do more.
Yeah.
And Neuropathy Centers of America says SoftWave's the best treatment for neuropathy. So if you guys know anyone with neuropathy, tell them to try SoftWave. But one thing I would add in explaining this is it's kind of like with any modality. If someone walks in and they walk out, they feel loose, they tell their best friend. Their best friend tries it, they walk out, they feel tender. They're like, oh, I guess it didn't work for me. That's not really how the SoftWave works. And I always say in the first 8 weeks that I'm shocking people, if you feel pain-free within that range, it doesn't mean your tissue's healed. Because your tissue, we would say, stem cell migration and regeneration doesn't occur until the 8 to 12 week mark. And so with anything in this time zone, I don't care if we hit week 8 and you're like, man, my shoulder still hurts. I don't think it's working. I'm like, let's wait till week 12. And I track all the data. I call all our clients afterwards, and we've had a 90% success rate. Yeah.
It's wild.
And I don't really do much marketing. They just tell their friends. And that's how we go.
Well, that's results.
That's right. That's right.
Buddy, this was not the conversation I thought I was going to have in a very good way.
Yeah.
I learned that was wild.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, it's referenced in like the Fascia Training Academy book, but like not like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate you coming on, man. This was legit. We'll definitely, if I'm ever in Como, we'll set up live there and we'll do that too.
I love it.
Cool, man.